Okay, so we've all had a chance to read The Final Year by Matt Goodfellow. Yeah? Good. And we're just going to start off by just having a think about if there's anything that we liked about this book. So does anyone want to start by telling me anything that you liked about The Final Year?
I like the teacher because he was really caring and understood Nate.
Yeah, I agree, because he helped Nate through like rough times and really just supported him.
He kind of reminded me of our year 6 teacher because she was really helpful and she didn't get angry at us lots. She was really understanding when people were going through a hard time.
Yeah.
Good. And what about any of you? What did you like?
I found it really realistic, like it could happen now.
Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Like the fact that like all his worries, like people do worry about those things, so it's quite realistic.
And what kinds of things did he worry about that you think that other people worry about?
People liking him and not liking him, and like his friends and his siblings and family. He was worrying about them all the time.
Yeah, and was that relatable? You could kind of understand that? Yeah.
I agree with Clem. It was quite like, it feels quite like normal school like right now because like loads of people have those worries.
And is that something that you liked about it when you were reading it? That's good. What about any parts of the book? Were there any parts of the book that people particularly liked?
I know this sounds weird, but I quite like the bit like where like it says like after Nate says his mum was screaming, after the page it said I had 2 brothers, now I have 1, and I thought that was because I thought Dylan had died, but then it actually made me quite happy after, because it turned out that he hadn't died, he was actually alive.
Yeah, I like the fact all the drama, like he went through all of that.
It was quite impactful and a lot to take in at once, but when I got my head wrapped around it, I was terrified.
Yeah, I was reading it and then I just stopped for a bit and I realised I read the page quite a few times just to realise what had actually happened.
Yeah.
And then then I kind of
You get attached so much to the characters and you feel like you're actually there.
Why do you think it is that we get attached to Dylan so much throughout this book?
Because it's the way Matt describes him, I think.
And just his personality, he's really hyper, like lots of younger siblings.
Yeah.
And then he starts to get more calm and quiet because obviously his heart's failing, which is terrifying. Yeah.
So do you think that the fact that this is such a, like everybody, everyone goes through year 5, everyone goes through year 6 and SATs, do you think that's what makes this book kind of a standout book in that respect?
Because it's kind of like helping you understand what you might go through when you move into year 6 and you have to do SATs and all the SATs talks and things.
Also with me and Izzy, we've already gone through that, so it's more relatable
The SATs,
as well.
you think the SATs are really stressful. When you actually get there, they're like, yeah, I can kind of understand.
Yeah, because I've got SATs in like
You've got it in
like
a month.
a month. And
Because they're
we've got our mocks week next week and none of us are really worried.
And what about Mr. Joshua's approach to the SATs and the way that he kind of dealt with his class? What was that something that you liked?
Very positive.
He was really positive,
He was
wasn't he?
very positive and just telling the children it's fine, don't worry, it's just it's just a test and you'll get through it.
Nate said about how every teacher had been saying that it's like biggest moment of their life so far.
Yeah, I really like that poem. It was quite at the beginning, wasn't it? It's when it talks about what all the teachers said about the SATs, and then it says on page 42 all the things that Mr. Joshua doesn't say. He doesn't say that next year will be tough. He doesn't say that it's boosters and revision, that it's a fishbowl, it's time to knuckle down and focus, it's all worth it in the end. Yeah. And all the other teachers have been saying that. I thought that was quite a clever way to repeat that poem that was on page 29, and then Mr. Joshua on page 42.
And like how Mr. Joshua had said that the teachers in secondary school won't say that SATs matters, and it doesn't.
Yeah. And do you think that's maybe something that Matt Goodfellow wanted to kind of get across to children your age, is that it really, there's more to worry about?
Because at the back it says that he was a teacher and he's just highlighting that point that no one actually cares about SATs.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, because it's something that he really shows us quite cleverly, doesn't he, that it's maybe not the most important thing in year 6. Yeah. We haven't talked about Mum. Mum's an interesting character. Is Mum a character that we like?
I like her.
Okay.
Sort of.
Sort of. Yes.
Because, I mean, she does also leave quite a lot of things for Nate to do, because she does also hang out bingo with Auntie San. So, and she has a lot to do, and obviously helping and paying for everything for them to do and use is quite a lot to do.
Let me just come over this side and then we'll come back.
She's quite disorganised.
She is quite disorganised, isn't she?
Like she's all over the place. Like she's had 3 sons. One of them she doesn't even know who the dad is. She's got like lipstick all over her face and she's out too late doing bingo. Yeah.
She's quite a complicated character, isn't she? What about Clem or Ruby? Do you want to tell me
Yeah, I
about
mean,
what
like,
you...
like at one page, it like said like she was like out for like dinner, and like when Nate got home, like he had to do everything. So like she's like out quite a lot, like with Auntie Fan, like leaves Nate to do everything.
I do think she loves her children, but sometimes she just doesn't think that like some things are more important than that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, she loves her children, doesn't she? I mean, we see when Dylan is unwell and is in hospital, and that was a really difficult poem to read, wasn't it? When Nate wakes up and hears the sound of, was it this one called, it's The Noise, isn't it, on page 174 and 175? And I thought that was really clever with all those ands. You know, and I'm running upstairs, and she's on the landing, and she's holding Dylan, and she's screaming to wake him up, and he's not waking up, and his mouth is open.
Yeah, it was quite like impactful when you read it, because and all of these things are happening just to one person.
Yeah.
And you really notice that it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Also saying "and more" makes you think like, oh, it's going to stop, but no, there's more, and then there's more happening. It's more effective.
Just doesn't stop.
It is really effective, isn't it? Okay, we've talked a lot about lots of things that we like, and we might come back to more of them. We might think of more things that we like as we carry on talking, but does anyone want to tell me anything that they didn't like about this book? So it could be anything that happened, or it could be anything about the book as a whole, or the characters. Go on, Ruby.
I didn't really get the slang words, because like I can say them, but it's quite hard to read. So I had to read it like through like 3 times to
Like,
figure
at one
out.
point it said like SUMMAT, like summit.
Summit.
Yeah, which I think was meant to be something. With like it took me like quite a long time to figure it out, so it's quite confusing.
It's really interesting because you don't see very many books written in slang, do you? So does anyone want to tell me about why they think Matt Goodfellow might have done that?
Because of like Nate's background, and where he's from, and it's like him telling his story, and he's not going to use words like something, he's going to use slang words that he does in his life.
I think it makes it a bit more relatable. We talked about it being relatable, but I understand it is quite hard to read it, isn't it? Because we're not used to reading it, so you have to think about how you're going to say it out loud in your head and what that word might sound like. What about the fact that it's written in verse? How do we feel about it being as a verse novel? Is that something that you're used to? Is it new to you? Did we like it? It's new to you.
Yeah, but I like it.
I find it like, I don't know if it's only me, but like the bold title at the top, like sometimes like that's the beginning of the sentence, and I was reading it like at the title, and I was like, wait, but that sentence doesn't make sense. You have to read it all together.
That's really interesting. I noticed that as well. So this one begins like, he nods at me as his line shuffles off. So there the sentence is part of the title is part of the poem, but actually then other times Dylan's 4th birthday party, that's just the title of the poem. So sometimes you really did have to try and work out whether you were supposed to read it.
With the verses, we've done a couple of poems at school, so we've seen the verses. And I do think that it's easier to read because it's like split up instead of one big thing. It's just like lots of different ones.
I also wasn't really keen of the really big spaces in between some of the words. I didn't really get that.
Right.
I mean, I think it might have been because he's got to think about what he's saying, I guess.
Yeah, on page 32 there is a word misses a bunch of space. Next word, just underneath in a list.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it does kind of take a while to realise, oh, that's the next part of the sentence.
You have to really think about how you read it, don't you? Was there anything else that anybody didn't like? Were there any characters?
I did like Turner's side.
And also,
I didn't really like how his friend, who he'd been friends with for a long time, just suddenly stopped being friends with him and not liking him.
I don't like PS when he goes on Turner's side because he's kind of just leaving his best friend who has a lot to do and look after Dylan, and obviously Dylan going into the hospital, all that happening, and PS not there to support him. But then it's good that they do kind of get back and PS realizes what he's doing, and then
And it's really nice at the bit that PS then punches Turner.
Yes. Did anybody else think yes when that happened? We shouldn't. We shouldn't encourage violence, obviously. But yeah, there was that moment when he stood up for Nate, and we thought, yes.
I didn't like the bit where PS sniggered at Nate. I can't remember what page it was on, but he was talking to Caleb, and I think they kicked the football over to him, and Turner was being really.
it was at the start of the year 6.
And I didn't like how Nate became Parker just went along with it.
We can have a little think maybe about why do we think that PS did do that? Go on, Ruby.
I think it's because in the summer he met him, but he probably didn't really have anyone to actually do something with, so he got really close to him. But then when he finally went back to school, Turner started being mean because Turner was kind of being nice to PS at the summer. Then he started being mean to other people in school. But then PS didn't. I don't think PS really realised how hurtful that could be. And
I think he might have
Sorry, Clem.
maybe been gone onto Turner's side because that maybe PS was scared that if he did go against Turner, then he would be the one who's getting bullied.
Yeah, maybe that peer pressure.
PS did kind of go on Turner's side because he was really popular, and Turner was just like the bully of the school who tended to get all the attention, and PS felt like he wasn't getting much attention with Nate, so he did kind of
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting point.
PS went on holiday, and obviously he's an only child, so he didn't have his sibling around.
Yeah.
So, and Turner was there, so obviously he thought, I might make a friend.
Yeah, because actually Turner's a really interesting character, and I agree with all of you. I really didn't like him, but there were a couple of moments when I actually felt quite sorry for Turner. Did anybody else notice that?
he was by himself with nobody else because obviously PS left him, so he had no one to really hang out. And I understand because obviously he bullies everyone, so no one would really want to. So
He did have his little posse around him all the time, and I feel like he just added PS into that.
But the only thing is that you don't know what Turner was going through at home, so because usually when someone's bullying, they're going through something as well.
So they just
So
take out that
something could have been happening with his brother, all of his older brothers or something.
because they
We don't
were all
know.
kicked out of high school.
He did have all these older brothers, didn't he? And was there any actually similarities between Turner and Nate as well? Because we like Nate as a character, don't we? But he's not perfect, is he?
No, I think they both had some hard times.
They both had quite hard times. They both had difficult families. And what did Nate do sometimes when things got difficult?
He'd just stress out and smash everything.
Yeah, and what did he call that?
The beast.
The beast, yeah. And there's a few poems, isn't there, where he talks about what happens when the beast erupts. And at one point he does smash the whole classroom up, doesn't he?
Yeah, on page 37, he's starting to feel the beast.
And on page 116 and 117.
Yeah, because Turner just starts saying his little Muppet brother helping him out because his younger brother's kind of stepping up for him.
Yeah.
But that's where he says that he wanted the beast and it didn't come.
Yeah. Because he says something about, oh yeah, where do you go when there's Muppets to roast? Always asleep when I need you the most. Yeah, and I guess that's true with all of us, isn't it? What it's trying to show us is you can't always control how you react or how you feel about things. Is there anything else that we want to talk about that we didn't like about this book?
There was a good side about my mum and then a bad side. She was always leaving Nate to do everything, and also Nate didn't have a proper bedroom, so he also had, because if his mum fell asleep on the couch, Nate wouldn't have a place to sleep, so he'd have to sleep on the floor. So
Yeah, Mum is a really complicated character, isn't she?
You like her, but you also don't.
yes.
If his mum had never gone, never been out or something, he would have never been more independent, and wouldn't have been more scared about his younger brother, because Otherwise, he wouldn't have done as much to keep him safe.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I don't know how you felt. I felt a bit sad at the end because when Dylan comes out of hospital and there's that lovely moment where he's in the park and he's shouting Nate's name again, but then it ends with Mum and Auntie San sitting around the table drinking cans again. And there was a little part of me, I think, that really hoped that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that left me feeling, it was happy, but it also left me feeling a little bit sad. How did anyone else feel about that?
I kind of felt a bit sad because I think it does say that they were smoking, and I feel like, would you really do that in front of, right in front of your child?
Yeah, would you do that with
Just come out of hospital from a heart.
Say that again, Clem, sorry.
Like their child just come out of hospital from a heart attack, and then they come out and she's just drinking again, and just how she was before, not really looking caring.
I think Matt wants us to have two different sides of the opinion because Mum can be so caring to her children, and she needed to get Dylan to hospital when he was past or whatever, and but also she goes out to bingo every night, and then she doesn't really leave Nate to chill out.
So we mentioned a little bit earlier about Parker, about PS, and obviously he was this great friend at the beginning, and then he turned on him. Would you say that, I'm going to ask Clem and Ruby this, would you say that is PS a character that you liked or didn't like?
I can kind of relate to PS because I if someone was really nice to me for aid, I would have thought they had changed, but then if they would have started going back to school and being mean to people, I'd probably have stopped though. And also, there's a line when Nate says, once Turner threatened to break his nose if he did something again. I think PS might have been a bit scared of that.
I'm worried
happening
about
to
that,
him.
if that happened to him, if he leaves the side.
Yeah, so he found himself in a situation maybe where he wanted to be friends with Nate again, but he didn't know how to do it. And before we finish talking about this part of the book, the likes and dislikes, is there anything that anybody hasn't said that they would like to say about either anything that they like or don't like about the
I
book?
do quite like Nate because it's similar with me, because the way that I express myself is through writing as well. So it's very relatable.
Anything on this side?
I really like Caleb
Okay, we haven't talked about Caleb yet, actually.
because I thought he was really like Nate. I mean, I don't think he had the same background, but it's still, I think it didn't really say much about his background.
They went to his house once, didn't they? And didn't he say that it was messier than his house? Yeah. And what is the thing that they both have in common that brings them together, do you think?
They've both got single parents.
Great, yeah. So they understand each other.
They both understand each other by their same passion. Caleb likes drawing and Nate loves writing, so they kind of fit together. And that's what Mr. Joshua said also, because he noticed them hanging out and then said, gave Nate the notebook, and then he just writes everything down and Caleb starts drawing things.
That's right, yeah. I love that Caleb drew the pictures of Spider-Man for...
Yeah, that was so sweet.
Yeah.
That bit kind of
hospital.
brought a tear to
Yeah, I thought that was lovely. And that's kind of showed you what friendship should be and the way that he reacted. And something else I really liked actually was that of all the horrible things that happen to people in school, nobody ever picked on Nate or Caleb for being artistic. And I think that's a really important message sometimes, that you can express yourself and it's okay.
I did like Mr. Joshua because he kind of understood Nate and what was going on with his family, and also let him miss a test, but then had to obviously redo it because but he did understand what everything was going through and did talk about the beast quite a lot.
That's right, yeah.
I think it was quite supportive for Nate, throughout the whole time.
Yeah. Some of the best poems, I think, were those conversations between Nate and Mr. Joshua towards the end, where they were really talking about how to express yourself. And
Mr. Joshua did like singing quite a lot because you'd see him on the last day of school. He did start waving, and then the others sang back to him.
that's right. Yeah.
I think the Bob Marley song was a really good thing because Bob Marley's a very positive artist. And I know that because my dad loves Bob Marley, so I hear it quite often around the house.
Yeah. Good. The book overall, just before we kind of finish this section, would you recommend this book to other people?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've already recommended it to some of my friends.
I recommended it to at least 3 of my friends.
Yeah.
It's also good for like people in like year 5 or 6 because they know like what it's gonna be like going into those high years and seeing like what's gonna happen, and making them realise that it's not that bad.
Yeah. What about you guys? Would you recommend this?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. What would you tell somebody about it if you were to tell them about this book?
It's just a really good general book.
Yeah.
And like it's really realistic. So like I think like certain people in my class like would like also enjoy the slang language.
And also I recommend it because it's very because I'm in year 5 and lots of people in my class, they're really worried about SATs, but like after I read this book I was kind of like fine with it.
Yeah. Maybe it's not the most important thing.